What is going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Masculine Health Solutions podcast, where I'm joined with a legend. A legend in the oral game, something you guys didn't expect today, but something completely relevant to health that a lot of us overlook. I got Trina Felber, and she is the woman behind Primal Life Organics. And believe you me, I tried this product out, and I can tell you this is legit. Made me feel like $1,000,000. But first and foremost, Trina, how are you today?
I'm doing good. I'm super excited to mouth off with you today.
Well, clean my dirty mouth, as your product says, and it's true. I didn't realize how dirty my mouth was.
That's right. But you do want a little bit of a dirty mouth. We don't want to over
Hmm.
clean it. We want a little bit of a dirty mouth there.
Yeah. And obviously, you don't want to take care of it. And that's the one thing that, us guys, sometimes we overlook. And that's why that's why I started this podcast, is just to delve into the different sides of men's health and just health in general that we often overlook. And one of those things, obviously, is oral health care. And that's where you kind of come in. But first, I want to really get to know what got you started on this journey, because you were a registered nurse, right?
Yes, I'm a registered nurse. I got a master's degree in anesthesia. And back in 2007, I graduated with my master's, planned on working as a nurse anesthetist for, the rest of my career, and got married. And, we got married. My husband and I got married in Fiji because I was just turning 40 at the time, and we wanted to start a family. So we thought, well, let's go to Fiji. We probably won't get there for a while. So we went to Fiji, and luckily we got pregnant on the honeymoon. And when we got back, I started working, and I miscarried at a week 7. And
Hmm.
it was the miscarriage that actually sparked me to start looking at our like what is in our environment that we can control.
Hmm.
So we started changing to non-toxic products as far as our cleaning supplies and our, just the stuff, our laundry detergent. But it never dawned on me that our personal care products were loaded with toxins. And so that's when I pretty much discovered all the toxins in personal care products and what they do. They're hormone disruptors. They cause cancer. They cause problems with our endocrine system and our neurological system. So I sort of ditched everything and started making my own products, and they worked. I was shocked. They worked so well. And that's basically the story behind Primal Life and how it started. And my husband, he started his first company when he was 13. So I always say I made the mistake of telling him, like, everybody loves my products, I should just start selling it. And I'm thinking in this little store on Etsy, and he does a 180 and it's like, okay, figure out what you want to be called. I'll get someone to do your logo and I'll start a shop. And I'm like, okay, here we go. So that's kind of how it was born.
No, but it's awesome. Luckily, you had a dude who knew the logistics side of thing and the branding and all that. But honestly, like, the packaging is just beautiful. I was gonna commend you on that too. I'm like, everything just looks spectacular. And to your point too, the products themselves are actually really, really, really good. But what kind of made you say, hey, you know what? There's something wrong with the toothpaste that I'm using right now, and obviously you started doing your research. And what was, like you said, you saw a lot of the things that were wrong in our commercial products. What, like, did you start formulating different products, like, in your basement? Like, how did this all come about, like the whole experimentation process? Because I'm pretty sure that's an interesting story.
Yeah, no, it basically started in my kitchen, and I started making face products first because, of course, that's what I was more in tune to. But
Hmm.
then when my daughter, we ended up having a little girl,
Congrats.
and
Yeah.
when yeah, Mia, and that was in 2008. And when she turned 2, she had a molar come in that had a natural, it had something wrong with it. We knew something was wrong with it. So we took her to the dentist, and he said, that's a natural cavity. And I didn't even know that could happen, that
Hmm.
as the tooth was being developed in utero, it had this defect, which would be just the same thing as a cavity. It's a divot in the tooth.
Hmm.
And so the dentist said, look, that's pretty significant. We're probably going to have to pull the tooth within a year, but we'll put a temporary filling in it. And every time the temporary filling falls out every 2 to 3 months, we'll just decide, do we pull the tooth now or do we put another temporary filling in it? And so I was getting ready to leave the dentist office. And I know, as a nurse, I knew that every tooth is connected to an organ via meridians. So the meridian channels are the acupressure type of channel, where it's a connection between the tooth and an organ, so that it's like a pathway. If something's wrong with the tooth, you might get something, a sensation in the
Hmm.
organ's trying to tell you. Or the opposite, if there's a problem with your the organ, you might, that tooth that's connected to it might start to have a problem, even though there's no problem with the tooth, nothing's wrong. So as we were leaving the dentist office, he says, "Don't worry, Mom. We put a temporary filling in it. Now we just hope for the best." And I thought, screw this shit. I'm so glad he told me that. He said that to me. Looking back, if he hadn't said, "Don't worry, Mom, we just hope for the best now, put a
Yeah.
temporary filling in it," I don't think that I would have really thought about it too much. And when he said that, "We just hope for the best," I thought, there's no way this mom is hoping for the best. Get
Yeah,
the
no.
hell out of here.
Yeah.
So I had already been making products. So I just went home and I just started doing my research, and I found Dr. Weston A. Price,
Hmm.
the dentist in the early 1900s, who blows my mind, the stuff that he figured out that we still don't, the general public doesn't even understand or doesn't know what he figured out because they buried his research. So I figured out, and I read his research, and I figured out that if the dentist was right, if I kept doing what I was doing, we were going to have to pull that tooth within a year, because the way the dental products are formulated, they're formulated to cause cavities, cause gum disease, and cause problems inside the mouth that cause health issues down the road. So if I continued using the products that we were using, of course, we were going to have to pull the tooth. So I basically looked at what Dr. Weston A. Price was recommending, or what he saw and discovered, and I formulated my dental products. My very first one was my dirty mouth tooth powder,
Hmm.
and that basically saved her tooth. So I made the products. I have a whole oral wellness program now, but basically that tooth that was supposed to be pulled within a year fell out naturally 10 years later at the age of 12. And that temporary filling that was supposed to last 2 months was still in place. It lasted 10 years, and we never had a problem with that tooth ever. And when that tooth fell out, the tooth had actually remineralized. So it laid down a foundation of minerals to protect that filling from bacteria. And the bacteria is what basically would have killed the tooth.
Hmm.
So I did my job. And, that's the power of investigating and, not taking, when he said, "Don't worry, Mom, now we just hope for the best." No way. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There's solutions out there. We just have to figure it out.
Which is kind of what I mean spurred me to kind of make this podcast. Is I'm so sick and tired of, we're gonna treat things like we're not gonna cure things, we're not gonna heal things, we're not actually looking for solutions. And I am so tired of that. It's kind of like, let's just accept it, and then you take some medication, and you'll never really heal yourself, right? We're not looking for healing. We're just looking to treat the ailment with other things that are poisonous, and then we'll see what happens. I'm like, no, that's kind of why I'm in the same boat as you, where it's like, obviously, we're looking for healing, we're looking for solutions. And again, that's kind of the whole purpose and the whole mission here, which is why I love what you actually, took the time to figure out and obviously bring something positive into the world. Like, first and foremost, I commend you for that. But the other thing too, it's like your mama bear, it seems like the instincts just kicked in, like, nah, fuck that. I'm not interested in all that. Right?
I'm not. Yeah. And it's great, like what you said. eh, I I think it's so important to look for the root cause,
Mm-hmm.
because I spent 30 years in the medical field. I was a nurse for over 20 years before I went back and got my master's degree in anesthesia. And then I spent another 6 years working as a nurse anesthetist before the business grew, big enough that I needed to quit and
Mm-hmm.
just do this full time. But, in medicine, they're not looking for the root cause. They're really not. They're treating every symptom with a drug that is only going to create more disease inside the body.
Yeah.
And that's the real thing. If you can get to the root cause, and everything has a root cause, if you can get to the root cause and treat the root cause, you can reverse disease. And just same thing with cavities and gum disease. It's reversible. All you have to do is make some simple switches.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously that's where your product comes in, and I can attest to it because obviously I used it. I'm like, in one day, like I kind of have, they told me I got receding gums. My gums were kind of
Mhm.
sensitive, right? And then when I do floss, sometimes they bleed. And then today, I use the gum drops and I'm like, God damn, like I feel like $1,000,000. And I'm like, this feels spectacular. Like, this is something that I would never get from the commercial products that I've been using, let alone even see a product that's made for your gums, right? And you made that connection between, like, okay, oral healthcare is something that we need to kind of dive deeper in. But tell us more about that mineralization process and how that all occurs and how that works. And it's funny because my wife is like, hey, that's where she found you on Instagram. She's like, mineralizing the cavities and all this stuff and bringing those two teeth back to full health. And I'm like, oh, that's super interesting. Very serendipitous moment. But tell us about that process.
Yeah, I love that your wife was already knew who I was. I think that's
Yeah.
amazing. And it really helps me with my journey because I really want to get the word out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not so much about, selling my product. It's more about getting the knowledge out there because once you have the knowledge that you don't have to settle for the crap. You
Mm-hmm.
don't have to put up with the cavities and the gum disease, which by the way leads to other health issues. And I know, I'm one of those people out there that I know a lot of people are like, oh, natural products, they just don't work the same and I want to look good. And then the thing is, if your teeth are healthy, they are going to be white and strong. It's
Mm-hmm.
when they're unhealthy that they become like yellow and then you get the bleeding gums and your mouth just doesn't look good. And what's interesting is they did a study a while back where people were being interviewed for a job and they had a group of people come in that had really healthy looking teeth, white smiles, smiled all the time. And then they had people come in that interviewed that had actually better experience in the job that they were applying for. Either they had a better degree or more experience, but their oral care, they had yellow teeth, their gums didn't look as healthy, they didn't smile as often. And the people that got the job were the ones that had healthy teeth or smiled with less experience because your health is directly linked to your oral health. So, and employers know that. People innately know that. If you see someone that smiles and their teeth are not healthy, you judge them. And it's not whether it's fair, it's not. It's what happens. You judge them by the condition of their teeth. So my goal is to give everyone the opportunity to have healthy teeth without having to go through the pain of the drill, fill, and bill cycle. Because if you continue using the products that are on the market, believe it or not, the products on the market, I know how when I formulated my products, I formulated them to remineralize, and I'll go into what that means.
Mm-hmm.
But to remineralize the teeth and nourish the gum tissues and detox the tissues of the mouth. When all three of those things happen, you can heal the teeth, you can heal the gums, and you can have a healthy looking smile. Unfortunately, the products on the market are formulated to do the opposite. They are formulated to cause more acid in the mouth, cause more demineralization, and actually wear away or inflame or irritate the gum tissue.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, and this includes mouthwash,
Yeah.
one of the number one things that everyone should get rid of is mouthwash. But before we get into mouthwash, because that's going to open a
Yeah, I was gonna
whole
say I can't wait to talk about that.
It's going to open up a whole can of worms as we talk about some things that can happen if you use mouthwash
Mm-hmm.
or not happen.
Yeah.
But the remineralization process. So when your mouth is acidic, and by acidic I mean either it's caused by bacteria that creates more acid. So bacteria will eat sugar from your diet, and the
Mm-hmm.
bacteria eating sugar will create an acid effect inside the mouth. The other way that acid happens is by the foods that we eat. And I know you and I are both coffee drinkers. Coffee is acidic
Yeah.
by nature. There are some that try to be more alkaline, but they're for the most part, it's acidic.
Mm-hmm.
Red wine, meat, processed foods are all acidic. So when your mouth is in an acidic state, and think about cancer. Cancer grows when it's an acidic state. People have healed themselves from cancer by putting themselves into a complete alkaline state because cancer can't grow in an alkaline
Mm-hmm.
environment. Same thing inside the mouth. the bad bacteria, that there's two types of bacteria that can live inside the mouth. The harmful bacteria that causes cavities and gum disease and causes that mineral process to the minerals to leave the teeth, which will then lead to sensitive teeth and then cavities that need repair down the road. Or there's healthy bacteria that is alkaline. So there's two different conditions inside the mouth. So when your mouth is mostly in an acidic state, then the minerals leave the teeth and they only re-enter the teeth when it's alkaline, when the mouth is alkaline. The products on the market that we're using to brush our teeth, the mouthwashes, all create more acid in the mouth. They kill the good bacteria that can actually facilitate that to happen. And they're creating that acid environment. Whereas it's a simple switch. If you switch the products that you're using, eat less sugar. Of course, diet plays a role too. Eat less sugar, eat less processed foods, eat more of your green leafy vegetables and, your fruits and vegetables, that kind of stuff. You're going to have more of an alkaline environment inside the mouth. Your mouth is going to be more exposed to minerals, and then those minerals can go back into your teeth very easily and very quickly. And then your gum tissue will also heal. And the thicker your enamel, so the harder your teeth feel and the thicker the enamel, the whiter your teeth will look as well. And that's my whole goal, is to get your teeth healthy, the enamel thicker. And believe it or not, that thick enamel is what is going to prevent the cavities from happening as well.
Interesting. And it's kind of ironic and kind of funny, because I remember reading about this in Weston A. Price's book too, Physical Degeneration, where it's funny because like I work out, obviously, bodybuilding is what I do and I love it, right? And a lot of people just think, oh, you're just doing it for the aesthetic purposes, but it's like, no, I'm overall healthy. Like, I'm a natural bodybuilder too, so I don't take any exogenous, hormones and stuff, because I want to stay healthy. And one of the byproducts of that is the fact that you have an aesthetic body. You look good naked, like you feel great, and everything inside of the body just functions better. And to your point, one thing I didn't realize, like, obviously, yeah, it's like everything always looks better when it's healthier, right? And subconsciously, going back to your point about what you said too in those interviews, it's like people see that, without realizing, because they just take one look at that person, they're like, that dude must be pretty healthy, or that woman must be in good physical health, because look at her mouth, it's perfect, right? And that's one of these things, like a subconscious cue.
Right. And who do you want to associate with, or who would you want to hire? Do you want to hire the person that looks healthy? They're not going to call off, with every flu or cold that goes around, because they're going to, stay healthy. Or you want to hire the person that doesn't look as healthy. And as much as we don't want to admit that that's how life is, that really is. It's survival of the fittest. We all have that instinct. So yes, it is survival of the fittest. And it is true that you do want to be, and your mouth, the reason that the mouth is so important, and one of the reasons that you were so interested in talking to me, is because you understand the link between the mouth and the rest of the body. If the mouth is not healthy, so there's a saying, and I don't know if you've heard this. I heard it when I was growing up. I never knew what it meant, but the mouth is the gatekeeper, or good health starts inside the mouth. And I always say good health starts inside the mouth, but that could be where it ends as well. And everything is directly linked. So your gum tissue, when your gums become leaky, we've heard of leaky gut syndrome. Your gut starts inside your mouth. And if your gums are inflamed, if they're bleeding, they have a high blood flow volume that comes through the gum tissue. The blood, when your gums are bleeding, if there's any toxins or bacteria or virus or fungus that is in your mouth, and it crosses through, because if your gums are bleeding, it's a direct open gate, and things can then get into your bloodstream, and that bloodstream doesn't flow to your liver to be detoxified. That bloodstream from your gum tissue flows everywhere. It goes to it goes back to your lungs to be reoxygenated, and it goes back to your heart, and then your heart pumps it throughout the body, which is the link of why your mouth is directly linked to every body system or organ. It's linked to your brain health. It's linked to heart health. The plaque that has been found in the arteries of the heart vessels is the exact same that's in, that you get in your teeth, that hardening, that's the exact same thing. It's bacteria. So, and it's related to fertility. It's related to, and we'll talk about erectile dysfunction for
Hmm.
both men and women. It's related to thyroid. It's related to diabetes, obesity, brain fog, every single thing.
Oh, that's one thing. I mean, I hadn't really thought of, but it makes perfect sense because you're basically putting all these toxins in through an open wound, right? And that's pretty scary stuff because I mean, it's basically like a direct link, or like just putting things in directly. It's like, hey, let's go right to the blood flow. Let's skip through every other filtration process and just get right in there and start messing stuff up.
Yeah. And what's interesting, there was a study that I found a while back that was saying that there's the link. I always say it's death by design. Antiperspirant is really bad,
Oh
for
God.
you because of the aluminum, and the aluminum in the antiperspirant has been found in brains of people that had Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this study that came out that showed that fluoride from toothpaste and other sources as well, but fluoride in toothpaste opens that gate, the blood brain barrier. It opens the
Oh
blood
my
brain
gosh.
barrier. And then that's the way that toxins, including aluminum, can get into the brain tissue and then cause inflammation and, other issues, of course, inside the brain. So I say it's death by design, but you don't have to put up with it. Like, you don't have to do that anymore. There are better options and better solutions. And it's all about, first of all, it's knowledge is power. If
Mm-hmm.
as soon as you know these things, you can make changes. Whether you make one change, make two changes, or you wait to make any changes, at least you now have the knowledge that there's other options out there. And then when you act on it and you start to notice the changes, like you said, it's been one day and my teeth feel great.
Yeah.
It doesn't take long a lot of times for the body. The body wants to heal. The body
Mm-hmm.
wants to be normal. The body wants to be healthy, but you can't be healthy if you're continuously fighting inflammation. And
Mm-hmm.
all of these things, the bacteria, the virus, the toxins, heavy metals, all these things that we're being bombarded with cause inflammation. Inflammation is the root cause of every single disease
Mm-hmm.
process. And all of these things are opportunist as well. So if your body is already struggling, if your immune system is struggling to fight off all these toxins, and then you get some sort of pathogen in, and it's an opportunist, it's going to take its toll.
Yeah, and I mean, to your point, I almost do feel like it's death by design, and that's kind of the one thing that it does weigh on my head sometimes. Not so much for me, but more for my kids. Because I mean, I'm obviously trying to do the best that I can for them. Like we switch basically everything to organic. We're using olive oil more than canola oil. We're doing all the things that we can. But even then, it seems like it's just like an environmental thing as well. Like it's just so brutal. Like I was talking to another dude who's talked about how much our lungs are actually filled with like brake dust. You got a whole bunch of like just little like micro metals that are just in the air, right? And we don't even know what we're breathing every single day. And this is like I live in Vancouver, Canada. It's beautiful out here, right? But even then, it's like our environments are just so toxic that it seems like we're getting hit from every angle. And now you told me about that. The blood brain barrier is a big thing that I've been looking into, right? To make sure, I want to keep inflammation at bay. I don't want dementia. I don't want any of that. But it almost seems like I don't know. It just seems like we're being attacked from every angle.
I know, and it feels that way. But here's the thing: this is my opinion. There are things that we can control, like you were saying, like if you work out and you eat healthy and you take care of your body and you take care of your mouth and you're doing the right things,
Mm-hmm.
even when you're exposed to those toxins, then your body isn't overwhelmed trying to get rid of the toxins from your skincare and all those other things. If you can control the things you can control, then the things you can't control, your body will be able to manage even better.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way that I feel it. We
Yeah.
really have to get back and take control of the things that are in our control. And a lot of times it's, like I said, it's most people don't even realize that the things that they're putting in their mouth for their toothpaste and mouthwash or on their body with their personal care products are actually causing them to be sick. I mean, when's the last time you went to your doctor and he said, "What kind of products do you use on your body?" Did you know those have neurotoxins that they cause cancer and infertility, and like the water that's in personal care products is tap water, and there's like birth control and
Yeah.
antidepressants in there? Like, I mean, they don't
No.
ask you those questions because they haven't made that correlation. So We have to make it. And that's why I love coming on podcasts, and I love what you're doing, because you're opening that awareness for
Hmm.
people to go, whoa,
Yeah.
I need to wake up. I need to start looking. This is my health. And if I wait for the government to tell me something's not healthy, I'll be dead by then. And my poor kids, like you said, it's all about the kids for me too. My poor kids, I don't want them to be sick and dependent on anything. I want them to thrive. You know,
Hmm.
what parent doesn't? So just being aware and being conscious and just exploring the other avenues and options. And does it cost more money? Sometimes it does, but in the
Hmm.
long run, it costs far less than being
Yes.
sick, far
Well,
less than being sick.
I 100% agree with that because it's like, man, like, have you seen how much, cancer treatment is and all that kind of stuff? But not just that, it's like one of the things that me and my wife really live by is like health is wealth. Like, what good is it to have all the money in the world if I can't even go outside because hey, my memory's gone. I can't remember anything. I got Alzheimer's, dementia, you name it. Like all these things, you want to make sure you keep that at bay, right? Like, it's all about saying like living this life as healthy as possible. You want to thrive while you're here. We're all gonna die. Like I've made peace with that. My son just realized this concept recently, and now he's like, "Dude, I'm so worried." I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "I'm gonna die." I'm like, "We all die, bro. Like it's okay. We're all gonna die." But while we're here, it's one of those things where you want to thrive. You want to enjoy this life to the fullest. And to your point too, I don't mind investing in my health. I think it's something that everybody should. And if it mitigates the amount of damage that I'm going to receive from my environment and allows me to live a life where I can really live it to the fullest, I think it's a worthy investment and something that we should all do. But one of the things, going back to mouthwash, what was the most shocking thing about mouthwash that made you say, okay, this is really, really bad? Because you mentioned it before and you're like, this is a whole another bag of worms. But what was that one thing that just made you say, take a step back and be like, whoa, this is not good?
So, okay, listen up, guys, and even ladies, anybody that's listening. The mouthwash that's on the market. So this is probably 90, I would say probably 98% of the mouthwashes on the market are killing the healthy bacteria. So they're marketed as they kill 99% of all bacteria. And
Mm-hmm.
and that's a marketing ploy that everyone's like, oh, that's great. We got to kill the bacteria. When they're killing off the good bacteria, it prevents your body from creating nitric oxide. And nitric oxide, when nitric oxide production is not at its optimal, then men and women can both suffer from erectile dysfunction. Um, Orgasms aren't as enjoyable or achievable, and even fertility. Their infertility is on the rise, probably related to the fact that you're not producing enough nitric oxide. For those of you who aren't sure what nitric oxide does, nitric oxide is what causes the blood vessels to dilate. So they go from being small with less blood flow to maybe double the size, so double the blood flow. So think about what you want to happen in those moments where you want blood flow. So if you don't have a healthy blood flow, things just can't work as efficiently. How does that connect to your mouth? In order to there's two pathways to make your own nitric oxide. One is internal, one is through enzymatic processes. The other is has to do with the healthy bacteria inside the mouth. So you have to have a healthy bacteria inside the mouth and inside the gut. Inside the mouth, you eat something that has nitrates in it. And I'm talking about healthy foods. So this is mostly like the green leafy vegetables,
Spinach,
healthy
yeah.
foods. Yeah. When you're eating something that has nitrates in it, your saliva and the bacteria, the healthy bacteria inside the mouth, converts the nitrates to nitrites. And this
Mm-hmm.
isn't the nitrites that are in like hot dogs and bacon. This is different. So if you're eating that, that doesn't count. That's not going to produce nitric oxide. Sorry. So this is the healthy stuff. But you have to have that healthy bacteria inside the mouth. Mouthwash is wiping that out. So, and it takes about 3 days to reestablish a healthy microbiome inside the mouth. So if you're swishing with mouthwash twice a day, it's like taking an antibiotic twice a day for life and expecting to have healthy organs, healthy bacteria, and nitric oxide production. It won't happen. So the healthy bacteria breaks down the nitrates into nitrites in the gut. Then you swallow that in the gut. The bacteria there converts the nitrites into nitric oxide. And that's the pathway. And then the other piece of that is when your nitric oxide is at optimal levels, your saliva has nitric oxide in it. So if you have if you're not making as much, your saliva will have less nitric oxide, which means in your saliva, the nitric oxide is what helps prevent cavities and gum disease. So if your saliva has less nitric oxide, then you're on this hamster wheel of, not being able to get your mouth healthy, not being able to get your body healthy, and now you're not producing enough nitric oxide. The other piece of nitric oxide where you may hear about it more, because it's more popular when you talk about cardiovascular health, is the blood vessels in the heart. So when you have a healthy amount of nitric oxide, the blood vessels can stay open and dilated, which means you have more blood flow, more oxygen concentration can get to the heart. People that have heart disease or plaque buildup, they get the chest pains because there's less oxygen supply and less blood flow to the heart. And, nitric oxide is also extremely important for brain health. We don't even think about, brain fog and joint problems. Like when you talk about getting older and people are like, oh my gosh, it takes me a couple minutes to recover from sitting down, so long because my joints are, all of that can be related to your nitric oxide. Nitric oxide it's an anti-inflammatory, it boosts your immune system. It helps you sleep. So it's not just a vasodilator. It's related to a lot of functions. So that's why it's so important to give up that mouthwash. And mouthwash. And, a lot of the ingredients in regular toothpaste as well is killing the good bacteria inside your mouth and just destroying your body's ability to make nitric oxide.
That is, it's fascinating. It's one of those things like, yeah, the correlations between everything. Us guys, obviously, it's like I was talking to this urologist, Dr. Justin. He actually made this cock ring that actually tracks your nocturnal erections. And he's like, listen, yeah, he's like, I get a lot of guys in because they're like, oh, I want to make sure my erections are on point, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, but I'm taking in this data and being like, hey, man, your heart is not working the way that it should because your nocturnal erections are telling me this, right? And that's to your point. It's one of those things where a lot of guys will overlook it and just say, oh, oh, my erections aren't working well, but it's like, what else is going on within the body? Like, what is your body trying to tell you? And like you said before, the body is smart. The body is always looking to heal, right? And it's a global thing. You can't escape it. If one thing isn't working properly, chances are there's probably something else that's off. And the beauty of what you're doing is like, hey, let's go to the root cause. Let's go to where everything kind of comes in from, the first line of defense, which is the mouth.
Yeah. And if, for a lot of people, you fix the mouth, which isn't hard. It's a simple swap of, what you're using. You want to get rid of the stuff that has like the regular toothpaste on the market, even natural products. They're better, but they're not going to remineralize your teeth. They're not going to reset the healthy microbiome inside the mouth. It's about that healthy environment. You create that healthy environment, just like inside your body, you create that healthy environment, healing can happen. And then, it extends beyond that. So, and to your point, the body is always going to send blood or send support to the most vital organs. So if you're seeing signs, that, your joints aren't healthy or you're not feeling good and, erections and things like that aren't happening the way you want them to, it's most likely because there's an internal problem that's causing the body to go, that's not really important for survival. So we're going to do this and we're going to send the nutrients and the blood flow here because that's where the problem is. And that's the main, that's the life force. If your heart and your brain and your lungs and your liver aren't getting the blood flow that they need, then life can cease to exist and it doesn't matter. So other things are going to, go to the wayside. And that's your first signal. That's one of the, like I always say, people always ask me like, how do you know that your mouth's not healthy? And I say, do you have bad breath? Well, yeah, I have bad breath. Do you wake up with morning breath? Yeah, I wake up with morning breath. Okay, well, then your mouth's not healthy because bad breath is the very first sign that there's an imbalance in that bacteria inside the mouth. And you should not have bad breath. You shouldn't wake up with bad breath. Now, of course, there's some medications that can cause an imbalance or decreased saliva production. But in true reality, for the average person, if you have bad breath, you're not healthy. That's a sign. You shouldn't need mouthwash. You shouldn't need breath mints. You shouldn't need gum. You should have healthy bacteria inside the mouth that is supporting your body's ability to stay healthy long term. And by omitting some of those other things that are causing problems, I mean, you'll see the benefits so quickly, because very quickly your mouth can turn over. I've had people that suffered from sensitive teeth for years. I had one woman who's like, 20 years I've had sensitive teeth. I've been using all the sensitive stuff, Sensodyne, sensitive, whatever. Nothing worked. I used your products for 3 days and my sensitive teeth are gone. I'm like, yeah, it's because your body will heal quickly if given the opportunity and the right ingredients or the right products or the right formulation. So it can happen. So anybody out there that's like, oh my gosh, I have bad breath, it can change. You're not stuck with the mouth you have. You're not stuck with the skin that you have. Everything cycles through. Like, it's like once a month your skin is renewed. And the same thing inside your mouth. Your mouth heals very quickly. It's like a 3 to 5 day process for the bacteria to reestablish healthy.
Oh yeah, and to your point about that, it's like the body basically renews itself. I think it's like every 3 months, basically, because all your cells are just kind of, they renew themselves. They get rid of all the old ones, right? And it's kind of the new ones come in. It's like, all right, cool, you got a new body, technically.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And that's why it's so important too to stay hydrated and use good things, eat healthy, because as your cells are turning over, of course, there's waste and detoxification that has to happen on a daily process. Because we say that's a 3 month, but it's not technically. It's like it's constantly happening where some cells are dying and new cells are being born. But when those cells die, I always say it comes down to the cell level. Life comes down to the cell level. If your cell level is not healthy, that's how cancer grows. It's one bad cell that is in an environment that it can continue to multiply and multiply and multiply. And if we can get rid of that environment and begin at the cell level of healing things, that's when massive change, you'll see massive change in people. And that's when people will be able to go off their, diabetic medications and heart medications, and they start to feel so much better, more energy, no more brain fog, because your body can ultimately reverse and heal.
yeah. Yeah, and I think it's all doable. It's always like, let's just stop looking to treat ailments and all that good stuff. Like, let's look for actual solutions and look into healing, which is kind of brings me to my next question: is what are some of the ingredients that you use, and what is the specific purpose of them? Like, let's say like the toothpaste that I tried yesterday, where I'm just like, this is different, like this is different. Like, this is a completely different sensation I've had in my mouth since I started brushing my teeth.
Yeah. So when my daughter's tooth, when I needed to heal that cavity or at least get that tooth to hang in there for longer than a year, when I was researching what Dr. Weston A. Price was talking about, there's 3 things. You want your dental products to, first of all, they have to be alkaline. If they're not alkaline, that means they're acidic or they're just neutral, and the unhealthy bacteria will thrive. So an alkaline environment basically is opposite of acidic, and it kills everything that's acidic in there. The same thing with the acidic environment. If you're brushing with something that's acidic, it's going to kill all your good bacteria, which is the alkaline bacteria. So it has to be alkaline. And for me, I use baking soda to make it alkaline. And that's the staple ingredient. I tell people, look at your dental products. If it doesn't have baking soda in it, chances are really good it's acidic and it's causing disease. It's causing more harm than good inside your body. The alkaline is going to support your healthy microbiome, and ultimately that is your lifeline. That is your lifeline to a healthy mouth and a healthy body. The second thing, it has to have minerals in it. If there's no minerals in the products that you're using, chances are good that you're going to be leaching or more minerals are going to be leaving the teeth every day as opposed to entering the teeth. most of them, I know you eat organic or mostly organic. We
Yeah.
eat mostly organic. The problem is even the soil for organic products or produce
Depleted.
depleted. Yeah, they said,
Uh,
it was even a couple years ago now, so I'm sure the numbers are even more inflated, but our ancestors could eat one carrot and they got all the minerals that they needed.
mhm.
Today, you would have to eat probably 18 to 20 carrots to get the same mineral content as that
Wow.
one carrot. So even if you're eating organic, you're not replacing all those minerals. So making sure that your product has minerals. And there's a couple things you can look for in your dental products. What I use is clay, a blend of 3 different clays. I like the blend of 3 clays because your teeth are made up of calcium and phosphate, but there's more than just those 2 minerals. It also has manganese and magnesium and silica. And when you lose a manganese or any mineral, it has to be replaced with the exact same mineral. You can't just replace a manganese with a calcium. It doesn't work that way. It's a lock and key. So it has to be the right mineral. So for a lot of dental products, you'll see calcium carbonate, and that's great. You'll replace all the calciums, but you're not going to be replacing all the other ones. The other piece of it is without magnesium, the hydroxyapatite, which is the outer layer of the enamel, the hard part, the hydroxyapatite won't fully harden without magnesium present. So a lot of brands that use calcium carbonate or even hydroxyapatite, we use hydroxyapatite in our products. Hydroxyapatite is calcium and phos, but
Mhm.
without magnesium present, it's still not going to harden completely. So the blend of 3 clays has plenty of magnesium, and that's why people get really quick results with ours, or at least that's how I feel. One of the reasons is because we've got all those minerals in there, and it's a lock key, and then that magnesium can help harden that enamel even faster. And then the last piece of it, so you want to look for baking soda, at least 1 type of clay. I use 3 because the 3 different clays have different minerals and they work differently. And nano hydroxyapatite is the other one that would have the minerals in it. But the last piece of it is it has to detox the tissues of your mouth. Sorry, your mouth is dirty, it's filthy, it's exposed to pollution, heavy metals. This is how a lot of heavy metals enter the body. Fungus, bacteria, all that crap that's inside the environment ends up in your mouth. And this is really disgusting. But every single thing that's in your mouth, unless you spit, you swallow,
Mhm.
and everything ends up in your gut. So, or the other airspace, there's airspace. So I call this the airspace in your mouth and your head. The mouth is directly connected to the nose, which is directly connected to the sinuses, and all of that when you breathe in goes into your lungs. So if it's filthy air, that's all going into your lungs, into your, talking about the pollution and, the metal detoxes and or toxins and things like that, breathing that all in. But the other avenue is it goes down into your gut. So this airspace up here, your mouth is not like Vegas. What happens in your mouth doesn't stay in your mouth. It goes everywhere. So detoxing your mouth tissue is going to be really important. And the clay is such a good medium for detox because clay ionically binds to toxins and holds on to it. So even if you were to swallow clay, it will actually pull that toxin all the way through your body and exit it, which is
Interesting.
why I love that. So that's why the healing can happen so quickly, is because the clay will actually pull toxins from your gum tissue. If your gum tissue is bleeding, inflamed, and full of toxins, do you think it's going to heal very quickly?
Nah,
No,
no way.
it's not. Yeah, it's junked up, it's clogged. So pulling those toxins out is going to help get rid of that inflammation. And then getting rid of the mouthwash, what I created is it's called gum drops. And
Yes.
it's, yeah, the gum drops. And it's
Yes.
made with olive oil, and it's got 11 essential oils in it. And the olive oil is extremely soothing. It's got squalene, which is really good for healing the tissue. But then the essential oils are also going to increase blood flow, reduce inflammation, and support the healthy bacteria. So healing the gum tissues is actually going to help close that gate of the toxins and pollutants and bacteria from actually entering the body. When you close that gate off in your gum tissue, that literally can change your life. It can change the way you feel pretty quickly. Of course, it depends on the condition inside, your body and how your diet and all that other stuff. But
Mhm.
that is going to be the best avenue, is closing that gate in your gum tissue, healing the gums. And I also use, we sent you our teeth whitening system, didn't
Oh
we?
yeah, yeah, I got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna start that
Um,
tonight.
yeah, I've got one here. I'll show if anybody's looking. It's our LED teeth whitening system that uses blue, red, and then the combination of blue and red LED lights inside the mouth with our gel that's peroxide free. We didn't talk about peroxide, but peroxide is one of those things, just like mouthwash, because a lot of mouthwashes have peroxide in them.
Yeah.
But peroxide is it destroys not just the healthy bacteria or the bad bacteria, but it also kills off the good bacteria, which is going to be that nitric oxide link again. But it's
Mhm.
also irritating to the gum tissue. So whitening your teeth with peroxide based whiteners is actually going to long term make your mouth and your teeth less healthy, and it's going to make you less healthy in the long run. The better way to do it is to rebuild the enamel, which is the process. That's the way that I'm doing it.
Mhm.
Our gel uses olive oil as a base. It uses the essential oils and all the other things that I talked about in the paste or my tooth powder, which is the
Mhm.
blend of clays that keeps it alkaline, the hydroxyapatite. So we're looking at it the way that I'm doing this and helping people get their mouth healthy is more of the outside in, making sure that your teeth are actually strong and getting the support that they need from the minerals that are actually in your teeth. Believe it or not, fluoride should not be in your body. Fluoride is not a composition or a mineral or a metal that we should actually have in our body. The only reason babies are born with fluoride in them is because mom had fluoride in her, either from dental products or water or whatever the case may be. But truly, fluoride is a neurotoxin, and we should not have fluoride in our bodies. It clogs us up, it creates inflammation, it's a neurotoxin, and that's how I feel about fluoride.
Well, no, I mean, I completely agree with you on that because, like, I was telling my wife lately when I go, get my cleaning, I'm just like, I don't want the fluoride. And they're like, well, why not? It's really good at cleaning and this, that, and the other. I'm like, well, fantastic. You can have it. Like, I don't want it. I'll just stick with the scaling in that. But I kind of find that a lot of these chemicals, I don't know why. Maybe it's a byproduct of some other industry, and that's kind of where I've had my tinfoil hat on for I don't know since I was a kid. So I've always kind of tried to look deeper into all these different chemicals and things that they put into our food, and just try to understand why, right? And one of the things that I saw you mention on other podcasts too is about the hardening of the pineal gland. I'm like, interesting. Is that maybe a correlation, or like, is that something that's
Yeah,
connected?
fluoride can definitely be connected, but also if anybody still has amalgam or the metal fillings inside their mouth,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever seen on YouTube, there used to be a video, I don't know if it's still out there, it's called the vaporizing tooth, I think is what it was called.
No.
But when you put fluoride, or when you put peroxide on a tooth that has amalgam or the metal filling, mercury filling in
Oh
it,
my gosh.
you'll see vapor coming from the tooth. And that vapor, I mean, this happens continuously. And they actually show, there's actually videos too of, if you've got metal in your mouth, the metal in the mouth, every time you bite it, because a lot of times the metal composition from filling to filling is different, can
Mm-hmm.
cause like electrical energy that we don't even realize is happening. You can't feel it, but your body feels it, and it's affecting your nervous system as well as the cells and everything. But peroxide causes the vaporizing, and so then you're inhaling that, and your pineal gland is right there, and obviously it can calcify or be detrimental to your health. So just making sure that and peroxide doesn't have a place in the mouth in dental products as far as I'm concerned. Like a lot of things don't. We've just been raised with it, so we don't question it. But
Yeah.
now's the time to start questioning it. Like that's what I did when I just did my research. I'm like, wait, what should we be using? What should we be brushing our teeth with?
Yeah.
And reverse engineering everything, which is basically what I did.
Yeah. And to your point, I can attest to it. Like, this is like nothing I've ever felt. Where I'm still astounded buy it because I was like, I expect it to be pretty good, leave my teeth kind of clean, but I didn't expect this level of like freshness, if that makes any sense. Because it's almost like I just feel like somebody went into my mouth and just took everything that was trash and just dumped it off somewhere, which is why
And
I'm
that's
still like
exactly what
shocked.
happened.
Exactly, but I mean, it's one thing to hear somebody talk about it, you're like, oh, that kind of makes sense, but then experiencing it was like, it totally, like, it made me do a 180, right? I'm like, okay, we're throwing out our old toothpaste, and even the healthy stuff. To your point, it never really left me feeling refreshed or 100% clean, if that makes sense. It's almost like there was still some gunk kind of left over, and the next day I would wake up and it's almost like, well, it feels like I brushed my teeth, but not really. And here I am again drinking my coffee and my teeth are yellow. Like it was that quick.
Yeah. And what's cool. So when I was talking about the red and the blue light, let me tell you really quickly what those do, because that's
Mm-hmm.
what, like, I'm one of those people that I totally get that everybody wants to still look healthy,
Mm-hmm.
and you still want those good results that you were going to get from the peroxide based things. And, everybody wants to look healthy. So that's why we call it a teeth whitener, but it does more than whiten the teeth. The blue light, Harvard did a study, and it was really a cool study. They showed that the bacteria that causes problems inside the mouth, that causes cavities and gum disease, has this little piece to it that when it's exposed to blue light, this little heme molecule piece explodes. So literally killing the bacteria when exposed to blue light. And what's cool about light therapy inside the mouth is that light therapy doesn't just hit the surface, it can actually penetrate the tissues slightly. Red light penetrates a little deeper, blue light not quite as deep. But when you're talking about the pockets or between the teeth, there's a possibility that it's actually getting to the bacteria there. Anywhere that it can reach, and it's not just like one dimensional, it's 4-dimensional, it's going every direction. So the blue light can actually kill bacteria. That bacteria, by the way, when we talk about plaque, that bacteria is yellow in color, which is why you get that yellow tint. I just had
Mm-hmm.
somebody post a photo the other day, started using our dental detox kit, which is what I put together. I put a whole kit together. It's called the dental
Mm-hmm.
detox kit. I think you'll have links for everybody where they get
Oh
really good
yeah.
pricing.
Yeah.
So just make sure you click through the links that you're given them. But the dental detox kit, she started using it, and she posted a picture of her teeth. You could see the plaque. You could see the yellow teeth, the yellowish.
Mm-hmm.
3 days later, gone, completely gone. Um, but that's what happens when you alkalize the mouth. And the blue light will do the same thing, because the blue light kills that bacteria. That bacteria is yellow in color. So it's going to whiten your teeth, that effect. Um, and then the red light therapy, red light does the same thing for your gum tissue that red light does for your skin. It
Interesting.
reduces
Yeah.
inflammation, increases blood flow, and speeds collagen production. So healing the gums is extremely important. And the red light, that's what the red light does.
That is honestly, I'm super stoked because I mean, I've only tried a couple of your products thus far, and I'm just like, I can't wait to try it out. I actually have it right here. So I mean, it's still in the box, still open, but no, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
And with
I
the
can't,
kit, you
can't
get
wait.
you get you get 20 treatments. There's little pods. There's 10 little pods of the gel in
Mm-hmm.
there. Let me pull one out. And so this is what the little pods look like. And there's 2 treatments in there. So you just I tell people, put it right on your finger, put it right on your teeth. Gonna feel different than the peroxide based ones, because the peroxide based ones are water based.
Mm-hmm.
And this one's going to be oil based. So even though it doesn't feel like or look like it just goes on different, it's oil, it's going to penetrate deeper and sit longer. Water based is your saliva is going to wear it away much quicker, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just not as effective. Whereas the oil based one, this is going to sit there longer. But I tell people, put it right on your finger, right on your teeth, instead of on the mouthpiece, and then put the mouthpiece in. And the mouthpiece is it's about a 16-minute treatment. It'll shut off automatically. So do it when I tell people, the only thing you can't do is brush. You can't talk and you can't eat or drink when you're doing this. So make sure you find the opportune moments when you
Mm-hmm.
don't want to be talking to someone. So if there's someone you're around, you don't want to talk, you just pop that in your mouth. Drive someone, a couple of people do it when they drive their car. Some people do it when they're making dinner, so they're not snacking. Some people when they're checking their emails, but fit it in. So it's 16 minutes for a month. we tell you to do it 5 days a week. So 5 treatments a week for a month. And then after that, at least one treatment a week, sometimes two. It just depends on what you want.
Hmm.
But typically, what I tell people is this is a lifelong treatment. Like this isn't
Hmm.
something you're going to put down and come back to every couple months. It's something you want to continue doing because your gum tissue is always exposed and the bacteria is always there and hiding. So making sure you're just keeping up with it, at least 1 to 2 treatments a week for life is gonna give you the best bang for your buck.
100%. Because I mean, the way I see it, it just to your point, what we started off with is like we've been doing things our entire lives in a certain way. It's like now we got to let go of those habits and change our maintenance protocols to something that's actually good and something that we just continue using. Because hey, you know what? If you don't use it, you lose it, right? And even if you made all these gains in the right direction, it's kind of like you will quickly go right back to default mode and lose everything that you really got from using products like yours. And that's kind of why I think it's important that everybody makes sure they get theirs, right? I mean, I got mine. I'm going to keep buying mine because I'm like, I mean, I am a witness. I'm a testament to it, you know, and that's why I'm so excited to talk to you. And that's why it was so, interesting to have this conversation because it really gave me the in depth layers of understanding, like, okay, this worked really well, but why? you know? So, Trina, it was an absolute pleasure having you on the show today. And is there any closing words that you'd like to leave us with?
Basically you're not stuck with the mouth that you have. As soon as you make some simple changes to your routine, it's easy. We didn't talk about tongue scraping, but if you
I
get the
know.
detox
Yeah.
kit, make sure that it comes with a copper tongue scraper. Scraping your tongue is the other thing that really impacts your health because that bacteria coating on your tongue
Hmm.
is creating that acid environment. So scraping your tongue takes like 3 seconds in the morning. You can do it twice a day. I recommend twice a day, but if I can get you to just do it once a day, I'm winning. So it's you're not stuck with the mouth you have. You can actually make it better.
And that is 100% true. And I mean, honestly, if you start using it, you'll notice the changes for yourself. But that is all for today's podcast. Again, Trina, thank you for coming on.